For a jacket, so first of all, you've got your facing, which will go along here, and that bags out your revere and your lap. And then what I tend to do is I work out, so you've got the fold of the jacket, it goes like that. So basically your hem would go up to here, like that.
Yeah.
Is that okay? That's a fold. So that's your net piece for your lining. So what I would do is I would trace this off as lining, which would just go to there. But you have to add roll in your lining. Otherwise, if you cut it the same size, the lining might shrink and the jacket will stick out. So one of the key things about linings is they're always cut longer. Always. So what you need to do is as I say, we're going to draw the shape here, which is our lining. And we go to the finished point where the hem folds up, and then this is felled up. But what you need to do now is I usually add a 3 centimetre block, which is called roll. Okay? It can be between 3 and 4. Okay? So when you've done that, you can also, when you've done that, let me think. So you've done that, then you need to notch this, because the machinist needs to know when she's sewing this, you have a little notch, and then this is pleated up to here and sewn in. So the jacket looks like this now, so the coat will look like that, yeah?
Yeah.
And then the lining does this. That's the principle of it. So you get the coat going along there, that's a fold, and that's basically where the jacket's felled up. But the lining always has to go like that, and it has a little roll on it because of the extra length. It's just better for the garment if it's got extra length on it. It doesn't stick out, okay?
And where do we have to notch it? Yeah.
Okay, so basically your lining now will come like this. The lining will go along there, it'll come down there. So basically at that point you're going to notch it, so you have a notch there, and then it'll go like that. What I tend to do is put an arrow, so the machinist will know that that's the point that goes back up to there, which is this point.
So you just notch at the point there,
of intersection.
Would be the exact length.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. I mean, some people do ease their linings on, which I don't actually do, but this is another option. You can actually, what you can do is raise the shoulder about 5mm, and then when you've got to this point, you can drop that 5mm, and then add your rectangle on and divide that between 3. So you're just easing very gently the lining on the front facing. That's if you want to do that. It's not a necessity. Okay, so with the back, which is the same method, you basically have your hem folded up like that. So what you do is you would trace round the back, and then you would go along the back, but in the back neck you always have a pleat, always. There's always a pleat in the back neck. So what you do is you have your original point, you come out maybe about between 1.5 to 2 centimetres, and then this line will intersect with that point there. And then this has an arrow, so the machinist will know she has to pleat it, and you get a nice pleat in the back neck of the garment.
Is that 1.5 on the fold?
Yes, so it becomes 3. Yes,
okay,
yeah.
And if can the same be said for like dresses?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever you're having a centre-back lining, it's always really good to have a pleat in it. You don't do that with trousers, but it's always for a jacket or a coat or a top or a dress, because of the cross back, because you have to have movement, so the pleat can be used to open out slightly to give you movement. Okay, so then you add your roll on the bottom, which is 3 centimetres, and that sews with that. So that's the actual front and back. When I go onto the sleeves, a lot of tailoring will basically have a piece that goes like this, because that's mitered, and then you have a rectangle that goes across like that, and that folds back on the inside. This is if you have a tailored sleeve, so I'm just drawing how that's going to look. So that goes like that. That's just your dotted line, because this will fold back. That's a fold. This is if you're having an opening cuff detail, so that will fold back and that will fold back, and this piece is just the extension that goes underneath. So when we're doing our lining, we obviously have to go along this line and along this line, but I tend to cut through and put my 3 centimetres roll in as well, because this has to sew along here and along here, and it can just go straight across the back. So you put your 3 centimetres through, and your 3 centimetres through, which is your roll. Okay?
No, I'm a bit lost on that one.
Okay, let's do that again. Because there are 2 ways. I'll show you the easier way. Okay? All right, let's do it again. This is the easier way. So don't worry about the vent, because the vent folds back anyway. So what you can do is just work out where your sleeve folds up to. And then you do your lining exactly the same. And then you can add your 3 centimetre roll. And that still can work the way I've done that. So just instead of cutting it out, you're just going to go straight across. And that, straight across, will sew along here when it's folded up. So it's the same, really. That's just a bit more tailored that way, which is probably a bit too complicated.
So that 3 centimetre is added on before the vent bit?
Yes, you have to, because, yes.
The vent's going to, yes,
yeah,
so
yeah.
that's added on there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And this basically will fold up along there, and then again you have the jacket that goes like that, and the lining will basically.
Because the cuff like is fabric, isn't it? It
Yeah.
folds back on
Yeah,
itself.
even though you've got an opening, you can still have it so the lining catches the top of the vent.
Yeah.
So you have like a vent that opens, but when it folds back in, the lining will sew straight around the top of it. Okay?
And what's the situation with ease on the lining of the sleeve?
As in the sleeve head?
Yeah.
Or you just do it the same as the sleeve.
Okay.
And one thing that you should be doing with all your linings is having a 1.3 seam allowances, because lining very easily frays.
All right, 1.3.
So I have a rule that if, say you're on a garment, the self to self is 1 centimetre seam allowance, self to lining is 1 centimetre seam allowance, which would be like facing to lining, only needs 1. But if it's lining to lining, it's 1.3. Is that okay with everyone? That's it in a nutshell, but obviously if anyone's got any things they want to talk about with that, that's, as long as you have your length, that's really important you put your roll on. Okay, you can keep it the same width, because basically if you imagine you've got a circle which is that size, and then if you put your lining inside it, you're still putting the same size, but it's going on a slightly smaller circumference. So technically, it ends up being a bit bigger. You see what I mean? Because it's the inner circle, which is the same size as the outer circle, but you're forcing it on the inside. So technically, you've got a bit of room anyway, because it's put inside the coat, but it's cut the same size. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay? If anyone's got any problems, just ask me any time about anything. That's just a very quick rough guide to lining. And do you want to talk about vents, or is that just
Yes.
tailored vents?
Oh, I don't
Well,
have any
more-
vents, so can I?
You can go if you want. You might want a vent later on, you'll think, I wish
I'll
I'd
wait for
stayed.
vents, but
Just pass me a bit of paper then. This is quite
Not write it.
this is quite complicated, so
Would this be the same for skirts as well?
sorry?
Would this be the same for skirts?
The same if you have
We're
a
doing a
vent.
lining on
Yeah,
the skirt.
with a vent.
Yeah, with the vent.
Absolutely, yeah.
Where it's got a cap and it's got a fold back. Can you show me that in a bit?
I'll show you after. Okay, so let's have a look. So we're going to do the 2 backs. Okay, so we've got the back neck. We're going to go down, we go along, and we go round. So we've got one back like that, and then the other back like this. So we've got the shoulders very rough. So basically what you'll have is you'll have basically a piece coming out like this, and then you also have another piece going out on this one, but it will folds back. So this one will fold back, and this is basically, you can cut them a pair, the actual shells, but then when you come to do the lining, this one sits out, which will be the right back, and the left back basically is folded back. Okay? So they're the 2 pieces you've got to think about. So also we take off our hem, so let's